Holy molies, we have so much to talk about. I'm shooting this on Sunday, as I always do. You're going to see it on Monday, and what a weekend it has been. A political... I can't say that. A certain kind of show, so we put it that way. I have so much I want to touch on today. As promised, I want to respond to the 10 political questions I asked you on Friday. I find it interesting not interesting, not even surprising. It is interesting, not surprising. How many of you responded to that privately? Remember, if you're on my email list, you sign up on my website, then you can, rather than responding in the comments, you can choose to respond to me directly. Because of the political atmosphere right now, I totally get why so many chose to respond privately. I will get back to you. I don't answer on the weekends. I try not to work outside of shooting this video on the weekend. So answers, yes, handy dandy index card. It's been forever. Answer to Friday's questions. I did want to touch on for a second just this whole idea of how many don't do politics. In Ontario, where I live, we just had our provincial election. 48% of the people voted. That means 52% have already assumed complacency, assumed their victim status, assumed they're powerless. That's scary. Because that gives power. Silence always benefits the oppressor. Let's keep that in mind. And last but not least, which is one of the reasons I wanted to discuss this on my channel, there's a comment I hear often from settler descendants. So non-Indigenous Canadians that in their family tree are the original settlers, which is pretty much everyone of non-Indigenous slant. There's a comment I hear often, and it is so relevant in this political climate right now. So let's talk about it. Bonjour. Mishko Paganon Quain Adishnakas Mangdodem. Hi, everybody. What I just said in Ojibwe is I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan. In English, I am Sandy Boucher. I'm a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory in Northern Ontario. And I have dedicated my lifetime, energy, knowledge, wisdom, whatever, to Indigenous Canadian reconciliation, bringing two opposing sides together. That doesn't sound relevant in modern day at all now, does it? So before I jump into those other comments, on Friday I had asked you 10 questions, just asked you to imagine we're sitting on a kitchen table together and I want to just get to know you better. I want to know what your view is in line with the back-to-back teaching. What can you see? What does it look like from your perspective? Not that I want to argue with you, I just want to know what you can see, because I understand you see things that I can't see, and vice versa. It's building the bridge. So I asked you 10 non-political questions first, and then I jumped into the political questions right at the end. I invited you to either email me your answers. Again, if you're on my email list, feel free to do that. If you're not, then feel free to put your comments below. I'm not going to let anyone attack you. I'm not going to attack you. If it's anti-Indigenous or anti-Canadian, I'm just going to delete it. I'll tell you that right now. Just saying. Because we don't do that here. That you can share that garbage on someone else's channel. There's enough spaces for you to do that. This isn't one of them. Okay, so we're going to go down this list, and boy, has it changed. Well, not changed, but in light of this weekend and Trump's Oval Office attack of Zelynskyy, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So the first question was my opinion of Trump. I believe Trump has agreed to destroy the U.S. so he can be seen as Putin's partner. Putin has convinced Trump that he wants to be Trump's partner, and Trump's not intelligent enough to realize Russia's only interested in world domination if they take out the other superpower, and they actually got someone from the inside. Now, I saw some post, conspiracy theory, whatever, that said Trump is actually a Russian agent, that he, got converted years ago. I don't think Trump's smart enough for that. I honestly don't. You just got to appeal to his ego. Yeah. So, but I believe Trump believes that, or he knows everything he's doing is making Putin happy. He believes he's going to be able to rule the world with Putin. Who is into world domination and also into sharing? Nobody. So that's my thoughts on Trump. I am praying to Creator that there is some mechanism in place where they can stop him soon. If ever the U.S. needed a coup to overthrow the government, I believe it's now. Right? I'm not inciting violence. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm Canadian. I'm not even American. But you got to get that boy out of office. Like, ridiculous. I almost went into the second part of this video, but I won't. The second one is Gaza. Now, I have made a point of not saying a lot about this, but in my humble opinion, knowing little, the attack on the Israelis that started this insanity by Hamas was horrific. No one is minimizing that. But what Israel has done in response is ludicrous. Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. The fact that anyone is allowing Israel to do that is absolutely ridiculous. A child is a child is a child. I don't care if the child is Israeli, Jewish, or Palestinian, Arab, whatever. A child is a child is a child. I say that here in Canada for Indigenous children and non-Indigenous children of equal value. It applies over there. It applies worldwide. Stop. Absolutely freaking stop. You do not eliminate Hamas by eliminating an entire population of people to go after one political group. That's using convenience to a ridiculous flippin' level. So that's all I want to say on Gaza. It's got to stop. Oh, and if you want to talk about Trump's idea, that's not even worth commenting on. That's just ultimate stupidity. How in debt is the U.S. right now? Yeah, that's Elon's excuse for slashing everything, which is totally another issue. He didn't make the list. So we're not going to talk about him. 3, Putin. Like I said, Putin cannot be trusted. Zelynskyy pointed it out. How many peace treaties has Putin signed and then turned his back? Whatever he's got to say, he is, I've dated this type of person, that they're going to say whatever you want to hear so that you're happy, and then they're going to do what they want to do anyways. That's Putin. He wants world domination. That has been his goal for as long as he's been in power, if not longer. That's not going to change, which is why the EU is now backing Ukraine, because as many world leaders have said, Ukraine is taking the hit for all of Europe, because everybody knows it doesn't stop at Ukraine. Except maybe Trump buys that because he buys the BS Putin tells him. Whatever. Number 4, Polyev. I saw somewhere, what was he called? Trump Light? Of course, Trump has turned on him now. Now, the one thing Polyev is against is the 51st state. I think Polyev had to and is desperately trying to save his campaign right now because he was doing the Trump thing. I actually saw a video where they took Trump statements against Polyev statements and how they were word for word, which was scary, but not a surprise. Polyev was campaigning on the fact that Canada was garbage and we need to make it great again. Canada is great. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about, was national pride. I knew there was one other thing. I'm just writing it on my paper so I don't forget. So that's Poilievre. Poilievre is conservative. Poilievre is Trump light. Poilievre wants to do with Canada what Trump is doing to the US. Danger, danger, danger. Trudeau. I did a post quite a while ago on this. Trudeau's a politician. He has definitely broken promises. I think he led this country through lockdown and did an excellent job of it. Yes, it incurred in debt, but he made sure we didn't starve. I also think Trudeau's past his time. I was incredibly proud that he chose to step down. Many of the world leaders that led their countries through lockdown are now gone because the country chose to turn on them for the hardships of coming out of lockdown. I don't think they think about the alternatives. Would letting people starve have been better? That was rhetorical. I don't need to hear that. Number 6, food prices. One, horrific. When a single person buying groceries starts to notice how much more expensive they are, that's something. It's honestly, and this is my privilege, and I totally own this. For years, I was impoverished. I don't really pay attention to how much I spend on groceries anymore. It's just order them, get them in the door. I got other things to deal with. I definitely did when I had my kids here. But even I couldn't, what is the total of what am I buying? So I think food prices are a direct result to what's going on in the world. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So for your sake, the antidote to helplessness is responsibility. When you feel helpless, focus on what you can do, what you are responsible for. Find a way to bring extra income into your family, some little side hustle, whatever the case may be. Involve your kids, involve your family, whatever it is, dog walking, snow shoveling, whatever. Because I think we're going to have to ride out food prices for a while. Number 7 is tariffs. They're stupid. They're stupid. The fact that the U.S., the fact that Trump, I'm not even going to say the U.S., the Trump thought this was a good idea is just more of the destroying America. So, has resulted in incredible Canadian pride. I just thought of something else I want to talk about. What was it called? Okay. It all ties into this, that's why. So, resulted in incredible Canadian national pride. That's cool to see. It's better than hearing our own people trashing our country. By the way, again, I want to reiterate, I am Indigenous. I do not hate Canada. I want Canada to do way better by the Indigenous people that live within the borders that Canada claimed, but I don't hate this country. 8, the price of education. I should have changed that to the state of our education system. I think I've mentioned it. Both my grandchildren are homeschooled. I 100% support my daughter for doing that. If I had kids right now, I would not put them in that system, only because the intent is to educate my children. As a person, could I be involved in fixing the education system? Sure, but I wouldn't do that with my children paying the price. Kids shouldn't have to endure a war zone to get an education. They shouldn't be lost in a sea of kids. I'm not blaming the teachers. They're trying to do their best in a ridiculous situation. And there's the conservative government slashing funding for our education system. So Ford just got back in. He only got one more seat than he had. I'm really trying to focus on that fact so I don't get totally depressed. But yeah, and then that brings us to number 9, which was the healthcare system. Be careful what you wish for. Because in Ontario, we can still go to the doctor. Well, most of us don't have doctors. I am lucky enough to have a doctor. My children don't. I mean, it's a ridiculous situation. But having for-profit healthcare is worse. The fact that you can make it an option that if you have the money you can pay and you don't need to wait just means that the staff, the nurses, the doctors that would have been in the public system move to the private system because they can make more money. You're gutting the public system when you do that. You're making that two-tier healthcare system. We do not want to mimic the US. We don't. Where you have a pay-for-life plan if you want to have children because of the price tag. I can remember a friend of mine years ago in Louisiana when she had her children and her husband sneaking in Tylenol because you didn't want to pay the $50 per pill that they would charge in the hospital or whatever ridiculous amount it was. Last but not least, climate change is a thing. Mother Earth is reacting to the abuse we've inflicted on her for generations. It's not fictitious. The fact that we have to start doing things differently is not a political party trying to make us pay more. It's a reality. We borrow this planet from our grandchildren, and we don't have the right to leave them with less than what we got. We got to fix this. So that is my reactions. That's me, my honest beliefs. Be interesting to see, just even in the comments, if you put 1 to 10, how many you agreed with me, how many you didn't. Yes, yes, no, no, yes. Don't need a big, huge debate. Next on the list were those who don't do politics. And I run into this so often. Full disclosure here, I'm a soon-to-be 61-year-old female that happens to be single. So every now and then I meet single men my age. None of them are aware of politics. None that I've met, I'm not saying everyone, are interested in politics at all. They're just sticking their heads in the sand. So Phil DeFranco, I've mentioned him on my channel before, shared some clips from him. He says, if you don't do politics, politics will do you, which is exactly the point. If there's one thing I don't like or I'm afraid of, it's the unknown. I want to know. I prepare. I know winter's coming. I prepare. I know summer's coming. If there's bad news, I want to know the bad news. I want to be aware of world politics. We are seeing world ally relationships shifting in real time. This is world history in the making, and we're part of it. And you don't want to be aware of what's happening? How are you going to explain it to your grandkids? Right? So, And which leads me, I had said there's a comment I hear all the time in relation to reconciliation that totally applies to this. And it's with people who are settler descendants, the non-Indigenous people that live in Canada. So they hear about the atrocities. They hear about the residential schools. They hear about Indigenous people moved off their lands and put in these reserve systems, these reserves that got set aside, reservations in the US. And often I will hear, but did they even know it was going on? Like maybe they weren't aware. I mean, it's the government that did it. Maybe they didn't vote for that. Remember when I just said about all those people choosing not to do politics, choosing not to be aware? That's not innocence. That's willful blindness. That's complacency. That's you being complicit. Right? That is you allowing what's going to happen because you couldn't be bothered to say something, and that does not make you an innocent. It didn't apply to the settlers, it doesn't apply to their descendants, and it doesn't apply to Canadians who don't want to do politics. Just putting that out there. Which brings me to the last 2 points. I have seen this on my YouTube channel. I've also seen it everywhere on social media. I came across a new term this weekend, US defaultism. So it's when Americans on the internet assume that everyone in their comment section is an American, or anyone doing content is an American. Now, when the internet first became a thing, I get it, because a lot of the companies, a lot of the people were based in the US. But if you're going to open up a public page now, any kind of website or whatever that's open to the general public, why are you still assuming that? And you know where I see it most often? When any kind of post or creator asks, type in the comments where you're from. And you will see responses like Seattle, Dallas, New York, like a city in the US. And I used to debate, what am I going to put? And often I'll type Northern Ontario, Canada. And then it's like, they didn't put their state. They didn't put their country. Why did they assume I just know where Seattle is? So I don't anymore. Now I just put Thunder Bay. And of course, someone's going to say, where the heck is that? It's Canada. We're a country. You should look that up on that map of yours, or that app of yours. Last but not least, I did touch on the fact the national pride, the Canadian national pride we're seeing in response to Trump's tariff threats. I am sweating and I'm fogging up my own glasses. How's that for fun? Teach me to jump in to do a shower, or do a shower and then jump in to do a video right after. Get all hot and bothered on these topics. What was my point? Oh, national pride. So look at what happened. Canada was under attack with the tariff threat. National pride. So the next time you see Indigenous people standing up and being proud and being loud and fighting for what they believe in, Indigenous pride would also be in response to an attack. So maybe you understand how hard we're fighting now that you get the Canadian national pride. Just saying. Food for thought. I hope you found that informative. I had so much to share with you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.